What is up, survivors? My name is ShawnSetGO, and for those of you who haven't joined us on the stream, I am brand new to Project Zomboid, but I've been enjoying it a lot. Something that we've been doing in stream is we've been working on doing things like death runs, and in fact, I will be running a death run pretty soon and trying to make it a full-on death run that we can do over a long period of time, or, you know, short death runs that we can mix into the streams. Anyone can join and anyone can do. But for those of you who haven't seen any of my content, this is my alt channel. But on my alt channel, I like to play things like stuff that are smaller indie games, but also games that have dedicated communities. I played Stardew Valley for a time. I've done speedruns in that. I've played a lot of survival games like The Long Dark. I played that for years. So there's a lot of mixed games in there, and this is a perfect game that I think would fit that category. So something about my content is that I like to find community discussions, talking points, as well as things that I think we can do to make the game better, but also bring up discussion and kind of bring a lot of collective voices together, because these type of games, while they can be multiplayer, aren't necessarily always. So I think it's always a good idea to kind of introduce these opportunities for players to either find common ground or to find out like, hey, maybe we don't like this, or maybe we do like this, and how can we make it better? So give you an example, this first post I found says, what is your Zomboid hot take? For me, I hate living in houses post electricity shutoff. They are too dark and I don't like having to maintain a generator. Prefer to live in the woods near a river or lake. Personally, I 100% agree with this. I think this is kind of a confusion of, I guess, purpose, where you hit the point of electricity is off, and I think at a certain point you're told generator. Like you gotta either have a character that's trained to do it, or you get the magazine and you do it, or the manual, you do it, and then you're set. But honestly, I don't think there's necessarily anything that says you have to. Now, is it a challenge? For sure. I think there's people who either do exactly what this person is doing, or they avoid it like the plague. I think either is a very likely option. But you could also do like, you know, the campfire route and just, you know, live off the lamb, you know, as much as it is. There is some degrees of realism within Project Zomboid that I think are reasonable. So with that being said, let's look at some of the comments. The first one says, there's so many dumb RNG when moving, disassembling furniture. Who broke a bed when moving a counter 1 square to the left? Nope, broken. Rain collector barrel is 1 square off the sink and you need to move it. Broke. Think if you can make the item, you should be able to safely dismantle or move the item. When you learn to build a rain barrel, you can move them without damaging the rain barrel. 100% agree. I do think that there is, or should be, or there is a degree of realism, I understand, but that's not, I would say, the majority of things go a little too far with realism sometimes, or not necessarily too far, but they go too far in the area you don't want it to go too far in. I understand putting something in place solidifies it, and like essentially if you're moving it, there's that potential for breaking it, or like, you know, if you were placing it in real life, it would be more complex, right? I don't think that's necessarily where people want realism all the time. And that's the big issue. Let me tell you a little story about the time I, in my infinite wisdom, decided to make a large doghouse with 0% experience in woodworking. So there I was with pen and paper in hand, stretching out the doghouse. I measured the height and width of my dog. I wanted to make sure she fit. I measured all the pieces I would need and had them cut at Lowe's. So I would just get home and assemble. And make a long story short, a few months after I made it and we had to move it. As soon as we lifted it up, the roof came off of the body and fell to the floor and the wall broke off. So yeah, for stuff you can make with low carpentry, it is realistic for it to fall apart. I get it, but no. No. Why are saplings so rare in deep forest? If I'm grinding foraging 10, then I better drown in saplings. I have found absolutely 0 nails and no cars, so I am stuck in Echocrete trying to corral animals without a fence, because saplings for fences are like finding gold bars right now. They should be everywhere. Maybe not necessarily everywhere, but sort of like the foraging maps. Like if you look at a typical foraging map, do I have one up currently? If you look at foraging maps, they're like sort of like heat, you know, like a heat map in a way. There should be like density, or they have a propensity for being in certain spots, maybe like spawn locations that they're most likely to occur, would be a nice thing, sort of like WoW in a way, where the nodes are typically going to spawn in certain areas or certain zones, but not always the same one. So it's still moving, but still you can get like a density of them in a certain spot, right? Or have like a route that you could farm or something like that. That would make sense to me. I think the vanilla game allows you to rewire your electric lights to operate with all the mostly useless batteries you find with a high enough skill in electronics. Never got to that point myself because the skill is right to it's terrible to level up. I see. No, it is awful. I tried disassembling stuff and it was brutal. Most people, I think, that are reasonable, especially if you're like hosting something, probably put some sort of XP boost. I do think it is designed to have you do something like over the course of like a year's time and scale it that way, but not everybody's doing that. And changing it mid kind of feels off. I wish there was, I wish the standard or the default was a little bit more reasonable. That to me is where that gets fixed. But I think that the fact that is almost a quintessential part of the experience is your power shutting off, and then it doesn't immediately put you on the route to that. It's kind of unfortunate. Even in Minecraft, where you have a thing, it's like, hey, build a building table, build a shelter. It goes through a few basics at least. It's not forcing you to do it. It's just saying like, hey, these are the things that you probably need, like a checklist. It's not providing it in that way where it's more accessible. It's literally, if you're not focused on it from the get-go, you don't know that you need to be focused on it, it's gonna suck for a little while, which is part of it. I get it. It is part of it. I've only put 40 hours into this. There are plenty more people on my stream and in my videos telling me, listen, you need to learn these things. I'm going in blind. I'm doing most of this blind, but I like learning this way because there's so many cool people out there in the community, but I do have problems with that. So let's look at the next one. There are much more comments here. This one is called "What is your Zomboid hot take?" by Spaghetti Forgetty 24. If you want to look at more of the comments, but second one shows a little video that I thought would be good to react to. So this one does this. We'll see. So crouching. Typical right. And the corners. So it says, I'm bummed. Wait, the least helpful comment one OP has ever received. I know I only survived 3 days and I just started my character yesterday, but I did spend hours playing her. In that time, I cleared out Rosewood Fire Station, a bunch of areas essentially, looted some great books, cleared out the public, basically did a significant amount to where you feel like you have a good run. And that's how it happens, right? This is a billion scenarios in one. There's many people who have also been through this. This is not the only one for sure. But in the end, was on my way to clear out the second one when this happened. Yes, I was clearly not being careful. I saw and heard the banging on the door, assumed they were on the inside, and checked my health way too late. Then couldn't bandage in time. Yes, I was bitten, but I have they knew mods, so I would have recovered. This is the first time I had taken any damage at all from a zombie. It basically, once you get overwhelmed, it doesn't necessarily matter. You're kind of you're cooked at a certain point. But let's go back, or let's let the rest of this play, so we can see the rest, see what happens, see what they do. They were able to escape the first time. Clearly, they're very injured, and then their health is cooked. There's just too much damage at once, unfortunately. One thing I do that does give me an idea of is like the idea of like a stim pack or like adrenaline. They could be super rare, but I think it would be cool if first aid did that. I don't mean to speak out of turn. If anything I say is wrong or is fixed by a certain build, by the way, I don't mean to speak out of turn, but I think it would be cool if like a stim pack exists, something along those lines, like an adrenaline thing, just so you could stave it off a few seconds, survive. It doesn't fix anything. It just stops it for a second so you can regroup, get those moments. Just a personal thing that I think would be kind of cool. And then maybe you could craft with high first aid, something like that. Or like maybe any sort of person with a medical skill start off, they get 1 or something like that. Would be kind of crazy. as like a cheat death, possibly, maybe you think about it. So ultimately, I do sympathize with this person. I want to go back though to a certain point. So right here, so we're killing a few things. Let's hear what they're talking about here so we can see a little bit about the sounds. So you can hear the rattling of the door. To be honest, I know it's not the garage door by the sounds. I'm sure you do as well. Yeah, it does sound like it's on the outside. Now, this is deceitful. Like, this does happen. I mean, it's the reason why they create the jump scare thing. You don't know what's on the other side of that door. And I think the lighting, for the most part, does reflect that well. All right, we're going to zoom in a bit. It's going to be a little bit fuzzy, I'm sure. Let's see if we can get it a little bit clearer. Okay. All right, ready? So, effectively, they are past the corner in my eyes. They are around the corner. They are past this little white line right here. You can see it there. It really is just for like half a second that it happens. But to me, this also should have shown by this point. Because they did pause there for a brief moment. And they did change directions quite quickly. I would say it's two things ultimately. Like, one, she should have been able to see around the corner quite quickly. And then two, I think the zombies at the door. I guess one of my least favorite things that doesn't necessarily bug me, but it can in scenarios like this, is when zombies, say you go to the back of a house and a zombie finds a window or door and they go window or door. It's one of my, and that they go for that window. It's one of my least favorite things, because what I want to break line of sight so I'm not attracting more things. I want them to come around and follow me. Logic would say that they would follow with the most logical route. I don't see why door and windows is like necessarily the route that they take. Sometimes it's helpful, you know, that they do that, but other times you're like, oh, well, now I can't do that house because now 3 of my windows are broken to this place. So just something I think about when I think about this. So one of the first comments says, gotta go wide around those corners. Obviously, gotta do that. Keep warning you, doors and corners, kid. That's where they get you. Beginner mistake, rounding corners from the right angle. So, yep, there it is. Complacency, the #1 zombie road killer. To me, complacency isn't necessarily it. It's when you have a good run and you get paranoid over the wrong thing, you know? Yeah, so it does. It's a lot of confidence. Like, you know, it always happens. People give a lot of tips, but there's not really what you can do. I'm going to be on the side of, though, I think there is a way to fix this problem, per se. As cheesy as it might be, I think a visual indicator for sound would be helpful in moments like this. Or at least a distinction with the sound, like whether it's on the outside or the inside, if that makes sense. So whether they're banging on the outside of the door versus the inside. That would be nice. Or like, even if it's like little sound indicators, so you would know it's around the corner versus, because if you think about in real life, right? You're rounding a corner. You could hear like directionally where it's from. I'm not expecting high directional audio or anything like that, like a super 3D high def audio, but I think you could tell positionally where it's from. It's difficult when you're doing a top down, you're zoomed out and it's like that way. I don't necessarily think that's all skill issue. Partially skill issue, but not all. But that's my thoughts on that. The next one is a little bit long, but I'm going to take this point to mention a few things that if you're in my comments, if you're in the Discord and you want to answer these questions, this is what I love about making videos like this, is I want to hear your perspective on this. So there's two things I want to talk about. One, how many zombies kills do you usually accumulate in a run? So I would say a month is a pretty reasonable time frame. I don't know if I've gotten that long. But what is your typical kill amount? What's your max kill amount? I would like to know your idea of what you typically do when it comes to zombies for longer runs? Do you start just clearing en masse? What is your typical plan? I'd like to know in the comments. Let me know. If that doesn't interest you, there's another one. This one says, is Louisville Airport worth venturing out to? I live in Muldraugh, so Louisville itself is a mission to get to, let alone the airport. Looking at it on B42 map, there seems to be a decent amount of crates dotted along. Has anyone ventured out there? What kind of loot did you find there? Was it highly populated? Was it worth the trip? So this person says, I've not personally been there, but I've seen some videos. Not sure if modded. That's one thing where I had a lot of people who are playing like on my stream or like on our server, and what they'll say is like, I don't know if real though, because it could have been modded. So like that's like one of the most common statements. Like we put that on Project Zomboid's like official slogans, I guess possibly. I went there a few IRL months ago. Lots of zombies, but not a crushing amount. Not much loot. It was an interesting area. You can get lost on where the entrances are. Wait, yeah, are they saying IRL? I can't tell. Once you clear it, the air control tower is a good base location. It's not easy to do at all. You have distillery, juice factory, wheat produce factory, beef slaughterhouse, mechanic shop, welding factory, station, and all close by, and it's fenced. Plus Louisville is close, so you'll never run out of loot. I guess I always go to the nomad route when it goes to this stuff, but I haven't done a long enough playthrough to, I guess, understand the full importance of doing a base. I think the issue with me with like putting myself in a position of an airport is I think you would only want to do it if you were doing base building, unless there was some greater function. And this is the discussion that I want you guys to mention in the comments of what you think. What do you think about, I guess, functional items that exist in the game similar to the effect of cars, where you have things that you can do, activate, that essentially switch on some functions or turn on some functions. Like say you go out here, you turn on like an emergency power, and then you can effectively run something in that area. So it's like a functioning airport. Just a thought, but once again, if it's actually being done or has been done, my bad, sorry, let me know. But let me know, what are your thoughts on Louisville Airport, or what are your thoughts on, I guess, unlikely but interesting base locations that maybe are like hidden gems? Let me know. I'd like to see if I can explore some of those. All right, so I hope this video was helpful. I hope this video gave you a little bit of perspective in the content I make, as well as a few things to think about as far as what you like to do or suggestions you like to put out in the forums or the Discord pages, etc., etc. But of course, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the page while you're at it. And of course, if you want to catch us live on stream, we stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually at about 8 p.m. Central European time. So it's about like midday for like Central time. It's kind of weird, but follow for notifications so you can know when all that stuff goes up, and then join our community so you can post more content you'd like me to react to or just talk about. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.